the impact of what I'm creating gets to be bigger than the dollar amount, gets to be bigger than the transaction. Like, this is everyone that I come in contact with in my business. Like, I want it to be a long-term relationship.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Catalyst Podcast. I'm your host, Sonia Pedowick, and today we have Makayla Hopper from MacMo Photography. I'm super excited to talk about photography and all things branding, just ready to dig into it. Welcome to the podcast, Makayla.
Thank you for having me.
I hear it's your podcast. I'm popping your podcast cherry. It's been exciting. There's been some people who've never been on a podcast before.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really excited, and I know just podcasts have been popping up all over the place, and there's so much value in being able to actually like share ideas. And so I'm super excited to be here.
So we'll talk a little bit about your business because that's what we're here to talk about. So tell us a little bit about your business and why you started it.
Well, MacMo came from the name of MacMo is Makayla Authentically Capturing Meaningful Occasions. So that's that's what MacMo stands for. And I started actually like middle school, high school. I got a camera for Christmas and started shooting everybody and anybody I could. I did photos of my friends and my family, and I've always had a passion for it. And I've been doing some like leadership trainings and stuff, and it inspired me to take on this business full time. And so like a year and some change now, 2024, January, I went full time in my business, and it's been awesome since. So cool.
And what has been the most exciting part about being your own business?
The most exciting part, I think for me, like one of the things I always really loved about the idea of like entrepreneurship and owning my own business was that I could be my own boss. I could set my own schedule, but also like there were no limits on what I could create in my company. And so one of the things I love is like I am like responsible for crafting this culture in my company and what do I want it to look like. And, you know, there's so many companies out there that you work for and it's already established. And so because mine's new, I have this opportunity to create whatever I want to create. And
That's exciting.
You know, I've really like leaned into who do I get to work with and who can I have be part of this process and how can I work with other businesses and support their businesses. And so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. We always get to talk about like the fun and exciting parts. What's been the most scary or challenging part?
Definitely when I quit my job, me and my husband were like, we didn't have any savings set aside. And so we were like, this is an opportunity for us. We're in our 20s and we're like, well, let's just do it. And so I would say the scary thing, it really is like, I get to pay myself or we don't pay our bills, right? Like that. So that's been a wild motivator in, generating in the business and growing my relationships. And I think it's also allowed a lot of like authentic creative relationships happening too, because I get to pay my bills too, right? Like number one. So it's definitely really cool to see just kind of everything that's happened in this last year and what it's starting to turn into.
Yeah.
So
what was something that maybe surprised you about business ownership that maybe you wish you would have known?
The pipeline doesn't just fall into your lap. I always thought, I was like, great, I'm just going to be a business owner and I'm going to put it out to the world and I'm going to have all these leads come in.
Yeah.
And that was not true.
Right. Yeah.
So I think like really I'm responsible, right? That's the biggest thing in the business is, whether it's thriving or whether we're, working through some opportunities, I'm responsible. And so one of the things that's actually surprised me, and I actually really love generating the pipeline. Like I was kind of resistant to it at the start of my business. And I was like, I thought this was just going to happen.
Yeah.
And no, that's not true. But it's been a lot of fun to get creative and lean into like, how do I support other businesses and why does that matter to me? So that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And before you got here, I was just recording a solo episode for the podcast because I do a lot with guests and then I do some on my own. I like the ones with guests much better, but it's part of the course. You have to do solo ones. But one of the ones I just did was on collaboration. Okay. And we connect a lot on that. Like I love collaborating and connecting people and that has been something that is really important to your business. You like to talk a little bit about why that's important to you and how you find opportunities to collaborate. Why is it important and who do you find the most value in collaborating with?
Yeah. I think what I'm starting to learn is how fun it is to be a connector.
Yeah.
Right? And like one of the things I've noticed too is I'm calling in all of these relationships with these men and women who are connectors, and
Yeah.
you being one of them. And I think the value of collaboration is like, it's not about the money in the business, right? The real value is like, how do I continue to make an impact in my business through relationships?
Yeah.
And, you know, I can only see what I can see.
Right.
And so, you know, Lisa and I were talking about it, but like this idea of 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah.
And how valuable it is to get people on your team that love you and care about you and support you, and you support them, and they start to see all these possibilities that you never thought were possible.
Right.
So for me, like collaboration is key,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's interesting because it's one thing I didn't talk about in my episode just now was I don't always make money in a collaboration deal.
Right.
And that has paid dividends for me all the time. Like it always comes back to me. And it doesn't always come back to me in the way of money either. And so it's interesting. I placed this gentleman who I just adore on a project opening the link at Caesars, right? He was a project manager. And at the time, gosh, we had like, I don't know, 30 people dedicated, whether it was like project management, some IT related in my staffing company. And I mean, they were all over, right? Whether it was in the project management office or IT related or financing, like there were so many people working on that project. And then he connected with the CIO in town and left when that project was done. And then I did like an intro, and he ended up following a CIO from another casino property, left town, and has since come back.
Okay.
And so now I'm trying to find him another job.
Right.
And it's slow because the economy and everything that's happening in the world.
All the things.
All the things, right? And so I was like, hey, there's another gaming company that I'm doing a lot of contract work, but there's a perm recruiter there that won't ever give me work. She wants to fill all her perm roles on her own. I think you should meet her. And so I did this LinkedIn introduction, and then he got a meeting with her. And then he was like, well, wait a minute, but are you going to get part of this deal? And I was like, no, well, like, I just want you to get a job, right? And he called, and then he was like, well, now I feel like I'm cutting you out of the deal. And I was like, it's fine, because eventually you'll get a job, and maybe in a year you'll be a decision maker, and we'll work again together. Like, he was so good to me when he was on this project forever.
Totally.
But like, at the time, I think that project ran like 2 years, and anytime there was another opportunity to onboard somebody, he always made sure my name was, I wasn't ever in the room, but my name was always in the room.
Absolutely.
He was always, taking care of me.
Yes.
And it always came back to me. And when he hit back town, who's the first person he thinks of, right? He thinks of me.
Of course.
And so when I don't really care if he gets a perm job at this other organization, he's going to think of me, whether it's day dot or 6 months down the road. He just took care of me. I take care of him. And he may get hired and never be able to use me, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's just energy. I think money is energy. And so through that, if he doesn't use me, he will refer me, and somehow the energy will come back. And
Absolutely.
That's collaboration to me, because somebody's going to get a job out of it.
Yes.
And that's the important thing. And eventually that will flow back to me in the form of some energy, which will eventually be a placement. But it's also the good of Torian is about putting people to work. No matter how that happens, somehow it will come back to my company. And through that collaboration, at the end of the day, it's expanding the realm of possible is my company's tagline. I want him to get a job because he was very good to me. I was good to him. And at the end of the day, he's going to, no matter what, I know he's saying my name in rooms that matter.
Yes.
And I will always say his name in rooms that matter.
Totally.
And that's all that matters.
I think what I'm starting to learn too is the distinction between like a good company and a great company.
Yeah.
And really the distinction is that it's, when we put a number to a person or we put value to a person and, I'm going to get this one booking for photography.
Right.
How limiting is that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like when I show up in the relationship and I'm unattached to the outcome and I just know like I'm making an impact on this person, they're making an impact on me. And that's the biggest driver, the biggest vision in our relationship.
Yeah.
endless possibilities.
Right.
Right. And so what I'm learning in as I'm growing my business is like, when I first started my business, it was about the money, right?
Yeah.
And it was about like, making sure my bills were paid, making sure that, me and my husband could live off of this one day. And it's so limiting in the business where you start to change that and you start to go like, how do I make an impact in other people's lives? And that really being the driver of my business,
Right.
that's where, that's how we met, right?
Yeah.
Like Justin introduced me to you and he was like, you get to meet Sonia.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, okay.
He's such a great person.
He's
Well, I had this one recruiter who, like, I have her name. I think I told Jet. She passed away from stage 4 breast cancer years ago, but she said, you'll always know the difference between a good recruiter is one who builds a relationship and one who slaps an invoice on every candidate's forehead. And I was just like, I just remember thinking like, that's so gross and good at the same point. Like, ew, like who slaps an invoice on somebody's head? But that's like some recruiters are just like, they see invoices and others see people. And I just always want to be that kind of recruiter where my team sees people, right? And if that means like we take less of a fee or we close our margin because this candidate's going to get a job or we walk away from a conversion fee, like it doesn't matter because the energy is coming back to us always tenfold. And it's all about just doing right than worrying, because the money has always come. We grew to be a $5 million business in less than 3 years, right before pandemic. And I know it's because we did the right thing always than the money thing. Yeah. Like, just know that's what it was about. And it was always through collaboration. It was always through like, how can we, and that's why I wanted to start my own recruiting company, was because I did work for one of the largest recruiting companies in the world. And it was always when we did chart reviews, which was basically quarterly performance reviews, was how can you get 30% more? How can you get 30% more? Like, oh, you did great. You're in Vegas, and we were beating, and our region was like Bakersfield, Sacramento, San Jose, San Francisco. Like Vegas was like in the top 5.
Yeah.
Like Vegas. I was like, how am I outperforming Sacramento and San Jose?
Right.
But that's what we're doing. And by the way, can you get 30% more? I'm like, what the hell? Like, where am I going to get 30% more margin? Like, I don't even understand. Like, more every quarter, more. And I was like, I got to do this on my own.
It's built in the culture of businesses right now. Like, it just is. It's all about the number and the next thing.
Yeah.
And
I felt like we were working so hard. I was like, we're working so freaking hard already. Like, where am I going to get 30% more?
Yeah, totally.
Jeez, it was just so, and I was like, I got to get my own business.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to work for, and where's the 30% going? Because it's not coming to me. Like, I'm still making crap, like totally. Barely. Like, and I was making, I thought, a lot, but I was like, but the 30% isn't showing up. In fact, they're changing comp plans every 6 months for us, which is like, wait, you're making less pay and base, and now we're reducing the comp plan. It's a pooled comp plan. I was like, wait a minute, your company's getting 30% more, but my comp plan's changing. I have to share it now with people. I was like, this is malarkey.
Doesn't make any sense.
My husband always says malarkey. Just dated him, but who says malarkey but a 51-year-old? So collaboration is definitely a big core value,
That's
for
awesome.
me. Like, how can we partner to make this like happen?
So that everybody wins.
Yeah. I know it's like cliche, but why not?
I think it really is, though, like, it's a mission, right? Like, it's the impact of what I'm creating gets to be bigger than the dollar amount, gets to be bigger than the transaction. Like, this is everyone that I come in contact with in my business. Like, I want it to be a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
And I think, in business, especially in Las Vegas, like, we're such a transactional city. So, anywhere that I can show up and be in relationship and really see, like you said, see the person instead of seeing an invoice, like it just completely changes the culture of Las Vegas too.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So what else was something you didn't prepare for going into business?
Didn't prepare for.
Or just know.
Yeah.
You're like,
I think how much I really valued being around people when I worked a normal 9 to 5. Like, no one tells you, like, when you're running your own company and you're working in your office and you're behind your desk for 10
like
hours
solo
a day.
dojo. Like,
You're like, have I, number one, eaten today? Have I talked to anyone today?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so easy to fall into that trap. And so, as I've started to notice it in my business, when I'm like behind a desk for 10 hours, I'm like, all right, I got to get up and, let me get on the phone with one of my photographer friends and go have coffee. Like, I just get to break this like isolation that I'm creating. And I think that's pretty common though for most business owners is it's easy to fall into that.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize how much like COVID like created that isolation too. And for some, like I get it. Like some people are like, I have a friend who's like, COVID was like the best thing ever. Like I don't like people. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go to the office.
Totally.
And there's still this whole debate. Like I'm more productive working from home. I don't know.
I think there's like value in being around people.
Yeah. And for some, it totally works. And others, it doesn't. I think it's interesting how many companies are clawing that back.
Yeah.
Right. And I think as a small business owner, you have to like weigh out the pluses and minuses of it. Like I 100% know people are more productive in the office.
Yeah.
And people can tell me all day long they are more productive at home.
Yeah.
But I don't have to turn anything on in my business to track all the systems in the world track activity, right? Yeah. LinkedIn as a recruiting company tells me how many clicks people have, how many searches people do. It's just you pay to have a LinkedIn recruiter account, and it just organically, as a business owner, tells me,
right,
like here this week, your people that you pay. I think I pay $40,000 a year for LinkedIn.
Right.
It better damn well tell me what I'm getting out
totally.
of it, right? And so it tells me every day what people do or don't do on it. My phone system, which I pay whatever $3,000 a year for, tells me how many times people dial the phone, how many calls come in, how many calls go out, how long every phone call is. It just tells me. I don't have to turn it on. I get a report once a month, right? My applicant tracking system, which is a CRM basically for the recruiting industry, it tells me how many resumes get put into the system every day per recruiter. So I know on Mondays, people do less of all of those things.
Totally.
They do less on Fridays. They do more on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Really? No way.
And so I've just always thought it's so funny that people are like, I'm more productive when I work from home. And I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah, right?
I could like just pull a report.
Totally.
And so I just think it's interesting that people still want to have that debate by and large, like, oh yeah, I'm more productive, right?
Absolutely.
And it's interesting too, because I have friends at large companies like Netflix and Facebook and what's the new Peacock now. And
there's so many streaming services.
Yeah. And I have friends who work at all of these organizations, and they say like, even to like when people like move in their offices, lights go on and off, like even their systems like tell them how often people move, and they're like, it's almost as if they say they're more productive, and like people go out and they don't even move.
Yeah.
Like lights don't even turn on and off for like 8 hours. And they're like, when you sit at your desk and work, you move.
Yeah.
And they're like, people like don't go to bathrooms. People don't move down hallways. And the people are just not that productive.
Yeah, totally.
Like, at home.
Totally.
They think they are, and they're just not. And so that whole debate has been like happening probably the last 12, 13 months, where companies are like, no, we know projects are taking longer. We know that innovation is happening at a lesser clip, and we want you to come back to the office because we believe when we're together, we're more collaborative, we talk more, we interact more, and we innovate more.
Yeah. I was going to say, even if like, if you're more productive at home from a doing perspective, like you're missing out on so many opportunities to be collaborative and innovative in your company and in your business.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also wildly valuable too.
Yeah. And personally, I just feel mental health wise, like I'm not.
Makes me want to pull my hair out.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, I think it's interesting. Like no one talks about like, being a business owner is lonely, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's really for me, like the value I saw in the mastermind itself. Like there's so much value for me in being able to take the hats off and sit down at a table with a bunch of other people who know what it's like to own a business and have the conversations that you can't have with other people in your normal life.
Makayla, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Totally. There's so much value in that. And, and also too, like, there's this division of who I am as a person and who I am in my business. And one of the things I've always believed is like they're one.
Right.
Right. So how powerful to be able to sit down at a table with a bunch of business owners and be able to talk about like, where's the integration of personal life and business? How is one affecting the other? And how do we make them work together in harmony? And so all of those conversations are so valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. And like there's this whole notion like there has to be balance or there has to be separation, but we are how you do one thing in one area of your life, you do it in
Yeah, it's
others.
such
and
bullshit.
Yeah.
It just is,
Right.
right? Like, this like work-life balance thing. It's not, there's an elevation available where it's all one.
Right.
And how do I show up and meet every moment in both my personal life and my business where I'm showing up the same, right?
Yeah.
And both of them are winning, my
Yeah.
personal life and my work life.
Yeah.
There's no balance. There's no separation. I think when we talk about work-life balance, it creates separation as
Yeah.
if the two are not the same.
Yeah. And I think there's also, and you're not yet a mother, but I know that's something you aspire to be. But I have older kids, right? Teenagers, soon to be 15, 17, and 19. And as a business owner, being also a mom, I'd sit on these panels and be like, how do you balance and how do you do it all? And I've just always felt like, why do I even have to answer to that? Like I was like, oh, here we go again with this like question. And I was like, and I remember there was a Lexicon Bank event actually it was March or October, Small Business Month. And I was like, oh my gosh, so here we go with this question again. And I was like, I just give myself grace because I'm not going to get it right. And I do my best to explain to my kids, and my husband's an amazing partner in this way, that there's games and events that both of us can be at.
Yep.
There's games and events that neither of us can be at, or both of us can't always be at. We do our best to show, and we tell our kids when that can happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we give them enough notice and understanding. Arden has a soccer tournament this Friday. Next week is spring break. The following week, my husband's going on college tours with Arden. And my husband's say, hey, Arden, I don't know if I can be at the 1:00 game, but I'll definitely be at the evening. And she's like, okay, I understand. She understands.
Yeah.
Like, and it's setting our kids up to expect that we can drop everything to be at everything for them is also an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah.
Because then we're telling them, you have to be at everything.
Yeah. You now have
You
to be
cannot
perfect
fail.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I just feel like that's such a failure of parenting, because they have to go out in the world and then
try to replicate what you've tried to replicate, right? Like
I've always just thought, like, what are we doing? And I love stay-at-home moms. I love working moms. I love all of them because the world needs all of them.
Yeah.
Right. And I've never judged a stay-at-home mom or an entrepreneur mom or a part-time mom, but I've always felt judged by them. Like, oh, you missed Noah's 3-pointer in the basketball game. Oh, you missed this. And I'm like, thank you for thank you for being there. Thank you for cheering him on. I would always like be so graceful and like this whole thing. But then in the inside, I'd be like, God, you're so mean.
Yeah.
Like, why are you judging me?
Yeah.
Like I've had the conversation with my kid, and I love the ride home because my kid's like, oh, Mom, you should have seen this. You should have this. Or you met. Like they were so excited telling me, and they also knew.
Totally.
They knew. Like,
I'm hearing how important it is to be transparent.
Yeah, we've always just had the conversation, And, my daughter's going on this whole college tour with, my husband. And I could tell she was like, well, I want you to also go. But we've done the Colby.
Yeah.
And I was having this conversation with Arden. Like, I'm sensing you feel like we both need to be on part of this journey with you. But I am not the one to go on these college tours with you because I don't gather information. We've all done the Colby and we've all talked about it. She is my husband's Colby.
Right.
And we've had someone on the show. We've had Gail on the show to talk about the Colby.
Nice.
Yeah. So Arden is a high fact finder like my husband. I am not.
Right.
And so
they're going to want to know all of the details and understand all the things.
Not in the way that they need them. Right. And so when I was talking to Arden about this, like, cross-country tour that she wants to go on, I just said to her, like, I'm feeling like you feel that both of us need to share in this experience with you or divide and conquer. And I just want you to hear me out because I'm wondering if at the end of March, when you sit down to evaluate, if it's going to better serve you for the same person to have done all of the trips with you, because the same person would have evaluated all the colleges and gathered the same information at each college with you so that when you have to make the decision, whoever went with you will have looked at it through the same lens as you. If that's what's going to serve you, my suggestion is one person do all the trips, and that person should be your dad because he looks at everything the same way as you.
Yeah.
And I'm just here to tell you, my feelings won't be hurt. Because what I would love to do is once you pick the college is be a part of the dorm room for like
The experience.
the experience,
Yeah.
like buying the stuff, which your dad does not enjoy.
Right. He wants no part.
And his idea of the budget for that room and the decoration will be very different than me.
Yes.
And I think I would better serve you on that part of the journey.
Totally.
But it's up to you. So, and you don't have to answer now because even in making this decision, I know you need some time. And so
Because you're a fact finder.
because you're a fact finder and you need to think about it. But I want you to know I won't be hurt. So just think about it. And so she thought about it. And a couple of days later, she just said, I think Dad would appreciate going on all these tours because he's got a spreadsheet, like this insane spreadsheet for all the colleges.
Of course he does.
And I saw the spreadsheet and my eye was
kill me
twitching. And I was like, oh my God, this is so stressful. And she's like, so I think you're right in that it would be better for Dad
Totally.
to go on this. And I
So
said,
good.
understood. I'm out.
Can't wait to decorate the dorm room.
Can't wait to hear how you come to the decision on the college. And so, yeah, they're totally going on all these trips. And I'm here to like text, how is it? Send me a picture. And I'm getting all the pictures and the play-by-play, which is amazing. And so you just have to know yourself.
Yeah.
And part of the mastermind, when you join, you get the Colby,
Yeah.
which you got.
So valuable.
And it's so great to like know, like, this is how
Operate.
this is what I need
Yes.
to function.
Yes.
And
So
this is how if I set my day up this way, if I pick my team, if I pick my partners, I can better function.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And even just in our family and with your partner,
Yeah.
right?
Totally.
It's just such a gift to like, and there's the DISC and there's Myers-Briggs, and those are more affective than cognitive, and what we need to make these decisions. It's like mind blowing.
Yeah. I mean, when I first got my Colby results, it was amazing because I was like, oh my gosh, somebody finally understands me.
Right.
Like, being a high quick start, like learning, like I'm the dreamer.
Yeah.
And
Visionary.
And I have all these ideas and I spend almost 45% of my time dreaming.
Yes.
That's huge.
Right.
And then where I have all of these relationships in my life who are like, can we get some things done around
Yeah.
here? And I'm like, I just want to dream all
Yeah.
day. Like,
I want to
don't-
like conjure them up
Totally.
and then maybe have somebody who can execute and hold me accountable to them.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
That's like perfectly fine.
It's been so fun too, because then you start to see, ooh, what's my gap?
yes.
Right. And so mine is accountability, mine's structure.
Right.
And so now I'm calling in all these relationships
Right.
where like I have people who are really great at structure and
Right.
really great at accountability and great at social media posting. Thank you, Haley. And right, like all these things that I am just, I
wanna
want
stab
no
your
part
eyes
of.
out at. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can actually enjoy your business
Right.
because you get to worry about the things you're good at and the things that light you up.
Yeah.
And then you get to bring other people in who maybe they want to be the spreadsheet queens and
Yeah.
kings.
No.
And I want no part of it.
I don't want anything to do
Like
with that.
I have enough where I can look at it and I can understand it and I can support in maybe some small structural changes, but I don't want to manage spreadsheets all day. No, I want to
No.
be creative.
Even in Torian with the recruiting, I don't want to write an RFP. I don't even want to read the RFP.
No.
So I found someone who they literally started a company where they write RFPs for companies.
And they probably love it.
They love it. And they're like, okay, here's a bullet point of 6 things that we need you to give us to write your RFP. And I'm like, we created a Teams folder and I just like drop files in there and then they'll submit it. They'll take a piece of it or they'll bill me hourly to write it. And I'm like, if I'm going to go win a $100,000 RFP, but you do all the legwork, heck yeah.
Yeah, we
I've
both
had my
win.
business for 10 years and I've avoided RFPs like the plague. Who the F wants to do that?
No.
I don't want to do that, but I want the business.
Yeah.
But I get through page like 7 of 28 and I'm like,
I would, and then I would procrastinate it,
oh
right?
yeah,
Like,
100%.
yeah, I would just wait until the very last moment
Yeah.
and then hate every moment of
And
it.
then I'm manic around it. I'm like, no, Charlie, you go write the RFP. And your business that's your business model.
Totally.
And you can charge by hour or you can take a cut of the end or you can write yourself into the RFP as the project man, like
Whatever you want to do.
whatever you want.
I don't care as long as I don't have to do it.
And we'll roll the dice and maybe we'll win one every quarter or a year. I don't care because I haven't done it for 10 years.
So good.
That's fine. He's
Yeah.
a high fact finder follow through. I'm a 8 or 9 on the quick start with a 4 on follow through. Like, I'm never going to do it.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
I always laughed because I was pretty low on follow through too. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, like I actually don't need to kick myself
No.
for not being great at that. Like
No.
I can
I think we're the same. We're like a 4 or
almost,
something. Yeah.
we're almost exactly.
But we'll follow through on the things that light us up and motivate us,
Yes.
right? If we need it or want it or are motivated by it, we will take action in it.
Right.
It's what do we need to take action in that area?
Absolutely.
But if we're not motivated or driven
It
to
will
do
be
it,
procrastinated until the very end.
yeah, sitting on a pile in the corner of the pen.
It'll be on my to-do list for like
Yeah.
a year and a half, and then I'll finally get it done.
Yeah, and the to-do list just highlight, click, move over.
Transfer to tomorrow. That's tomorrow's problem.
Like, no.
I've been in a revolving door of getting all my proposals updated, and I finally got it done. So a year and a half later,
Yeah,
check that one off the box.
exactly. I was talking to Brianna, who's in our incubator, and she's like, why does it come out so easy? And it's like, you know, you've been in business and things. I'm like, listen, like I was trying to get my sales and use tax, which I used to have a fractional CFO that did it, and we parted ways amicably, but it became my responsibility to do it, right? And I knew the day was like coming to do it, but at the same time, Nevada State decided to like create a new portal to do it.
Oh no.
And then the portal had an application error, and then I have 2 companies and the passwords kept conflicting. And I was like, Brianna, like you have this like vision of me that I like everything just comes easy. And like when I tell you, I first of all almost threw my laptop across the room. And then when I finally got like someone on the phone from the sales team, I was like in tears.
Yeah.
And she didn't believe me. So then she came in, I was helping her do it. And the same thing. And I was like, I'm trying to tell you, when this guy, Mark, I think his name, like, and he helped me. And he's like, would it be helpful if I just combine your 2 into one account and you could see both your, and I was like, I just started crying. And he's like, are you there? And I was like, oh my God, thank you. Like,
You just saved me.
I was like, I mean, Makayla, I cried.
Ugh.
And he's like, are you okay? I'm like, I've been on this call. It says like an hour and whatever. And I was going to give up. I'll just pay the penalty. He's like, you don't even own any sales and use tax. You just have to file a 0 filing. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, just in tears.
Thank you.
I was like, mother effer, like this is the stupidest thing. And I had just no patience. Like, I don't want to deal with those tasks. And it just like gave me so much anxiety. And when I was doing it with Brianna, and she's like, oh my God, is this what you were doing? I'm like, yes. But we got a super helpful lady that helped her through it. And then the application error, she's like, our website's like super glitchy. I'm like, I have an IT recruiting company. We can send out a...
Don't worry, I'll support you with that.
There's this assumption that like on the outside that some things just come easy for entrepreneurs. And it's like, oh, it's all roses. And
no,
it's not.
Yeah. I will tell you, like in all of my relationships, like they laugh at me because they get these random text messages at 11:30 at night, and it's all my random ideas. And I'm like, if I don't send them right when they happen, it will never happen.
Right.
And so I've just had to start to teach the people in my life, like, you don't have to do this right now. I just have to do this right now. And because if I don't take action on it right now in this moment, it will never happen.
Yeah.
And so I also think, collaboration and, hey, this is what I'm really great at, and this is what you're really great at. How can we support each other?
Yeah.
So that all of our businesses are winning.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. I'm like, I can feel you crying on the call.
Oh, I just like literally broke down.
Release.
And
Like, I've been worried about this whole time, and thank God. Like, totally.
He's like, are you there? I was like, yes.
I'm okay.
I was like, oh my God. I'm like, can you help me with my Vegas business license? Because my mailing, my business license address changed, but the physical address didn't change. And you can't do that online. You have to fill out a paper. We're in 2025. And you have to fill out City of Las Vegas. You need to do better. I'm looking at you. And you can't pay online to change your address. You have to mail a check.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, I know, it's really stupid. Yeah. I'm like, this is all they have to do is add another freaking button. And it's $25. Like, how stupid is that? And so anyway.
I do that when I did. I changed my business from a sole prop to an LLC this year. And like, to get your state business license, your city business license, and your insurance. And I'm like literally writing this 30-page to-do list of like, let me just make sure I did it all because God forbid I miss a piece.
Yeah.
And I did. I missed City of Las Vegas updating my billing address. And they're like,
dumb.
well, you need to update it. I'm like, okay, well, great. Well, how? So I email them. Well, it took like 45 days to
Yeah.
get back to me. Right. Like,
It's so dumb.
it's like we're doing our best out here. Can you support us?
Yeah.
Please?
And it was like a snowball because I had my SAM.gov, I had my Women Business Enterprise certification, I had my professional business employment agency. They were all like due, but like you needed the professional employment agency first. And like if I didn't get that in time, like it all just snowballed. I was like, oh my God, I just want to murder someone.
Yeah.
Like this is so dumb. But whatever, they all just need to do better because it's like, why are we still writing a check?
Yeah. Well, and anybody that I think would probably be on, boots on the ground that sees these things need to happen have no authority in changing them.
Yeah,
So
and
they're
that's
like,
what the poor lady at the city was. I'm like, I can pay online $300 for my license, but I have to write a check for $25 to change my address.
Right.
That makes no. She's like, I know. I'm like, it's literally one button. Just add one button.
the woman that helped me, she was like, it's literally just your address. I'm like, it's literally just my address.
Yeah.
And updating, like I've had a business, we're just changing the license. And she's like, I'm just going to do it. We're going to just mail you a new license. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much.
I was complaining to a friend I met through leadership last night. She's like, you should have just called me. I'm like, don't tell me that now. Because
That doesn't actually help
45
me.
days later, I could have murdered someone. So, well, here we are. But so that's that. So, well, what's coming up next for you? Like 2025 is kind of a big year. You like hit some revenue goals last year. You've got big ones this year.
Yes.
What's shiny object coming up for you this year?
Well, the goal in my business is to double my business. So last year was my first year full time, right? I quit my 9 to 5 and I went full time in the business and really was just throwing stuff at the wall to see what would stick. And so now, I've got so much support. I'm in the mastermind. We're all kind of, especially me and my business, like I'm putting all of these tools in place and now really just clarifying, like, what do I actually want in my business and what's my mission? And so one of the things that I'm working on is establishing like large long-term relationships. And so whether it's wedding venues with particular clients, like it's not a exchange of I'm just going to do a maternity session for you and never, be in relationship with you again. It's like I want the vision to be bigger. I want my impact on my company to be bigger. I would love, like, the big vision for me is MacMo is kind of this like huge umbrella. And I've got, all these access points of all these different photographers that specialize in maternity and so that I can be the connection point. And my business wins, their business wins, like we collaborate. And so I've been working on building that. And I see even in just that small change of like, worrying about doubling my business, going to, building the relationships in my business, it's been very fruitful. And I'm like, oh, of course it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, of course the money will come.
Yeah.
Of course right? Like I get to worry about what impact I'm going to make in my business. And
for sure.
One of the things that's really cool about photography is it captures a moment that'll never happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And, like my sister-in-law, I went and did her college photos and I got some feedback from my mother-in-law and I was like, just tell me what you loved about that shoot. And she was like, Makayla, you don't understand. Like, she's never going to be at that college again.
Yeah.
She's never going to be able to relive that experience as it was.
Yeah.
And so you've given her this tangible, like physical representation of all the hard work and all of the memories and all of the things that she created in those 4 years. And she has those as access points to be able to relive those over and over again.
That's great.
I mean, that's what we're about. You know what I mean? It's not just about taking photos for people. It's capturing who you are in those moments. And then you can relive them over and over again, with your kids, with your family, with your pets. Like it's so on your wedding day, like all of those things. When I hear the stories of my brides and they open up their galleries and they're like, I relived it again and again.
I love that.
That's the mission I'm here for.
Yeah.
So.
No, I love that. I always tell my kids, like, I capture those moments. It's like, it's just one day. Like, just give me one day. Like, and they're so good about it. They don't fight me. It's like not very often like that. Those momentous, like high school graduations, 8th grade, whatever. And they suck it up and put on whatever outfit I pick out. And they just know it's like once a year or whatever. And they're really good about it. I let them get the goofy pictures out, whatever. But it's like, Mom wants us to wear this and Mom wants us to show up at this time. And they're so good about it. Whatever else the rest of the year, you can pick on each other and make funny faces, but this one occasion they know, and they're really good about it because it's true. It's like never ever going to happen again.
It's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
It's so cool too, because I hear my mom all the time like, oh man, I wish I would have got photos of that, or I wish I had something to be able to show you what that part of my life was like. And so I've always like, at every moment I can, like, we're going to capture this moment because it matters.
Yeah.
And life is short.
Yeah.
And you never know. You never know.
So fleeting.
So to be able to relive those moments over and over again, even when time and people have passed, is super important.
Definitely. So what advice would you have for people maybe not in a mastermind or don't have a coach? What advice do you have?
Oh my gosh. Get yourself a coach.
So
everybody needs a coach, right? I would almost be curious, like, what would have you think that you don't need support, right? Like, what would have you think that you could do this alone?
Yeah.
You probably could do it alone, but how much farther could you go with people around you and support around you? And like, you withhold your contribution for what you actually can bring to the table when you don't ask for support. Because it's just as much as I'm getting coached by my coaches, I also have an opportunity to share what I've learned, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're all working together.
Yeah.
So, I've hired personal one-on-one coaches this last year, and now I'm part of this mastermind. And there's so much value in being able to share space with people.
Yeah.
And like the constant reminder of, I don't have to do this alone.
Yeah.
And, being around a bunch of women in our mastermind of, these businesses that are way bigger than mine. I'm like, there's so much for me to learn from them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be scary.
Right.
It's actually inspiring. It's like, wow, they've done it. I could too.
Yeah.
So.
And I think women add an extra special element to it that, like, when people are like, oh, you should do a women's one, I was like, oh, why? Like, why separate? Like, I love the male perspective, and I still do. And I still have men in another group, which is incredible. I love that. And I get often quite asked by, like, why are you just doing women? And it's like, it was called upon. And so we're doing it. And it doesn't mean I don't like men. I'm raising men. I'm married to a man.
Yeah.
I love men. It's just this kind of came about organically. And then every Friday that we have our meeting, I just am like, it's just a special conversation that I didn't know I needed at this stage of my life. And it just, we talk about business, we cover a lot of business things. And then sometimes the personal life does come into it. And, especially this last meeting, there was one member that shared some things that I was like, whoa, it brought up some things in my life that I was like, I didn't realize I hadn't thought about. And I was like, whoa, what if I had thought about this sooner? What if I had thought, well, how is that impacting my life? And where in my business is this particular thing showing up? And I talked to her, took her out to lunch about a week or so after. I was like, that was really important that you brought that up. Thank you for sharing that, because it made me think of some things in a different way that I'm 50 and I hadn't thought about that. So thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing that. And she had a breakthrough in her home and in her business, and it was just really powerful. And in another room, maybe that conversation wouldn't have happened. And so it's just, if you're willing to go there and share in a business, it's really important and powerful. And so I'm really grateful for that space, for sure.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
Yeah. So where can people find you?
On my website.
Yes, which is?
It's MacMoPhoto.com.
Yeah.
If they're looking to book a session, they can go and inquire and reach out. And, I do all the things, which is also really cool. So
awesome. And social?
Social is Instagram. You can find me on Instagram, which is macmo.photo.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been growing the socials and stuff, and I've been loving the new community that's been coming in. And so I would love for all of you guys to follow me. And yeah.
Well, thank you for being on my show. You did great.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That was so fun.
Your first podcast.
So good. I feel like I'm like, oh, I understand why people do podcasts. This is so cool.
See? Nothing to be afraid of.
What a cool conversation.
Yeah. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you like what you saw today on the Catalyst podcast, make sure you subscribe to our show, like it, and share it with someone who you think might also find value.